Hey everyone, and welcome. So, have you ever stopped to think about what leaving your car with a valet, borrowing a library book, and getting your phone fixed all have in common? It might surprise you, but in each of those everyday moments, you're actually entering into a legal contract. Today, we're going to unpack a corner of contract law that you are a part of all the time, probably without even realizing it.
I mean, on the surface, they seem totally different, right? One is about trusting a stranger with your car, another is just, borrowing a book for free, and the last one is a straightforward service. But here's the thing. Legally, they're all built on the exact same foundation. Any guesses what that could be? The answer is a legal concept called bailment. Now, it might sound a little fancy, but it's a super simple idea. It's really just about the temporary handover of your stuff. And trust me, once you know what to look for, you're going to start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
All right, so let's dive in and really unpack what bailment means and meet the key players who are involved in this incredibly common legal relationship. Okay, here's the official kind of wordy legal definition. But don't get bogged down in the jargon. All it really boils down to is this. You're giving your property to someone else for a specific purpose, like for a repair or just for them to hold on to it. And the deal is that you're absolutely getting it back later. So in every bailment, there are two main characters. First, you've got the bailor. That's the person who gives the item, the owner. Then you have the bailee, who's the one taking the item. So think about it. When you drop off your shirt at the tailor, you're the bailor. And the tailor, they're the bailee. See? Super simple. Now, it's really important to get that not all bailments are the same. They can be split into a few categories, but the big one is whether or not money changes hands. A gratuitous bailment is basically a freebie, like lending a book to a friend. But a non-gratuitous one is where you pay for it, like renting a bike. And as we're about to see, the law has slightly different rules for each. So what exactly happens when you're in a bailment? Well, it's not just a casual handover. Even if it feels informal, it actually creates real legal responsibilities or duties for both the person giving the item and the person taking it.
Let's start with the bailor. That's the owner, remember? Your number one job is honesty. You have a legal duty, a real responsibility to tell the other person about any faults you know about, especially if they could be dangerous.
And this example really drives it home. A lends a scooter to his friend B. He knows the brakes are bad, but doesn't say anything. B gets into an accident. In that case, A is on the hook to pay for the damages. It's a really clear-cut reminder of just how important it is to be upfront about any risks. Okay, so let's flip the script. What about the bailee, the person holding the item? Well, their number one job is pretty straightforward. Take care of the thing. The law uses this phrase, ordinary prudence. And what that really means is the law isn't expecting you to be perfect. It just expects you to be reasonably careful, to treat the item with the same care you'd give your own property. It's common sense, right? You wouldn't leave your own expensive camera out in the rain, so you definitely shouldn't do it with your friends. All right, another huge rule for the bailee. You can only use the item for what you agreed on. You can't just borrow something for one reason and then, do whatever you want with it. This example is perfect. A lets B borrow his car just for personal use, but then B starts using it as a taxi to make some cash. The second he does that, he's broken the agreement. A can demand the car back right then and there. It just goes to show you the purpose of the bailment is a really big deal. Okay, now we're going to get into a really specific but super important kind of bailment. It's so special it gets its own name, and it has a unique power. We're talking about a pledge. You've probably heard of this as a pawn, right? Like when you go to a pawn shop, you leave your watch, they give you cash. That's a pledge. It is a type of bailment, but it has one very specific job, to be security or collateral for a loan. And this is the absolute key difference you gotta remember. Think about it. A regular bailee, like your dry cleaner, can't just sell your suit if you forget to pay. But a pawnee, the person at the pawn shop, absolutely can sell your watch if you don't pay back that loan. It's that right to sell that makes a pledge so different and so powerful. All right, so we've gone through a bunch of legal details. Let's pull it all back together and talk about why this actually matters in your day-to-day life. So here's the bottom line. You are making bailment contracts way more than you think. Every single time you lend a tool, drop your car at the shop, or get your phone fixed, you're in one. Knowing if you're the giver, the bailor, or the taker, the bailee, is huge. It tells you what your duties are. And knowing what a pledge is, that helps you understand the real stakes when you put your property up as security. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know the rules, what bailments are you going to notice in your life today? As you go about your day, just keep an eye out. When you drop off your dry cleaning, borrow something from a friend, or even park in a garage, you'll start to see that invisible legal contract happening all around you.